All right, we'll call this meeting to order on Thursday, May 22nd, 5:30 p.m. for the Latimer Groundhouse Restoration Ad-Hoc Committee. Mr. King, would you mind saying the invitation for us?
Sure. Heavenly Father, I thank you for this group of people that are here tonight. Father, may you bless our work, give us wisdom. Father, give us, just may it be said about us that we're not trying to hide anything, and but that we are committed to the truth and we're committed to transparency, and so let that be our goal. And Lord, help us to honor Mr. Brown and do the best job that we can. We ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Before we adopt the agenda, I just wanted to add as new business item E. This is just kind of more of a form letter. We're starting it. Basically, the main reason we're here, we call it exploration findings. That is the crux of what we're talking about tonight. So, that a motion for approval of.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Recognition of the public. We have Mr. Kevin Baker. No. 424 A.B. Wade Road, Portland, Tennessee.
First of all, I'd like to congratulate the core group of people who got us to this point now and got the citizens of Sumner County and Mr. Brown's dream to this point. I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize Commissioner Jones, who behind the scenes was really kind of motivating and pushing, getting the Latimers involved, the McClards involved. Without that initial leadership, I think we would have floundered. Commissioner Klein, for your hard work in understanding the engineering behind this whole thing, and the diligence to investigate. This is a gem, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Commissioner, who else do I want to talk about? Commissioner Mansfield, you know, this whole thing wouldn't have happened unless we had a leadership kind of getting all the caps going in the same direction. And you know, the citizens of Sumner County should be really proud of this moment. This was a hell of an effort to get this point. You know, Mr. Brown gave us a lot of money, including $500,000 for this house, but he gave the schools a tremendous blessing. We need to make sure we take that and move on with it. But the other point is, and I mentioned it the other night at the county meeting, we should be considering this an archaeological treasure trove. We don't know. You look at those things, these kind of bricks don't come along until like the 1900s. But all of that, those beams, that's old school. Who knows, as I mentioned on Monday night, what could be buried in and around that area? We don't have the history. We need to recreate that. I wish the mayor was here because he seems to have an in with MTSU. You know, there should be some resources in the state of Tennessee, archaeologically speaking, that could come in and maybe do some carbon dating on some of the stuff, just to ascertain exactly what we're dealing with here. You know, this is a real gem. You know, I came from Connecticut. This was normal up in Connecticut. They would never have allowed this to have happened. They would have jumped on this from the get-go. Individuals, in any event. I applaud you all. I look forward to seeing the fruits of your labor, and the citizens and students of Sumner County, I think, are going to benefit for years to come. Thank you very much.
All right, and this is Laura Baker, 424 A.B. Wade Road, Portland, Tennessee.
Imagine that. He stole my thunder. It's been going on for 35 years plus. Thanking all of you and congratulating you. I'm not sure which one should come first, but to get to this point has been a tremendous effort, and I agree with all the recognitions that are here. I appreciate everybody who's agreed to be on the committee. And I'm glad now that we can be left to do comments, and Mike McClard now is on the committee, and Mr. Latimer can speak without his thunder getting stolen by the other Mr. Latimer on the committee. But yeah, ditto to everything that Kevin said, and just going through the numbers that Mr. Hooker, is that right?
Hooker, yeah.
Put together, you know, I see $120,000, there's probably I see some things in there that we didn't include in his list. But for the naysayers who said this couldn't be done for the $500,000 that was left, when you do the diligence and go finding someone who's passionate about it and cares about it as much as everybody in this room has cared about it since day one. And the fact that this wasn't even mentioned before, you know, we heard about the money going to the schools, but that this gem got left without anybody talking about it until this group started bringing it up. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, includes recognition of item 5, election of officers for chairman and vice chairman.
I'd like to nominate Jerry Mansfield for chairman.
Second.
All right, any other nominations? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nomination for vice chairman?
I'd like to nominate David Klein.
Second.
Any other nominations? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Old business, none. New business, 8, introduction of new members. How about we just go around the table and just introduce ourselves briefly? Sure.
Stephen King, I'm on the school board, District 5. That area is, actually, this is in my district. It's a really large area that I represent, from Millersville, literally the edge of the county in Millersville, all the way to Upper Station Camp, all up through there. And the Liberty Creek campus is my area, is part of my geographical district, and so I'm excited to be on this committee and to contribute. So thanks.
Michael Florida. My wife Cindy and I live next door to the elementary school, and we've been residents of Sumner County for over 40 years. Where we're living now, we've been there 36, I think. No, 34. I see my wife shaking her head, so I think it's 34. But anyway, I look forward to hoping that we can, you know, get this moving quickly and get it done as quickly as we can.
I'm Chrissy Miller. I am the County Commissioner for District 24, which is just right down the road from the Brown House. But I am a 6th-generation native of Shackle Island and Sumner County, and my family that came in years and that many generations ago was good friends with the Latimer family.
Jim Latimer, grew up in the area, went to school at Beach School, lived here all my life. We were the Latimers, some of the Latimers that stuck around. You know, once they got here from Connecticut, they sort of spread out and went west and all over the country. But we roamed those woods when I was a boy. You know, Mr. Brown would probably caught us over there. He might have kicked us out because we were on the back of his place and everything. So we were up and down the hills and hollows. Used to remember visiting Christy's great-grandfather. My father and he were friends, you know, in his stone house that he had down on New Hope Road, telling me, boy, there's wildcats back on this hill up here. So this house is a hidden treasure that not a lot of people realize were there. We're proud of the heritage of the house and the members of the people that came here and built the house and helped settle the area. So we look forward to trying to get this house preserved as a monument for Sumner County and the history of Sumner County.
David Klein, I'm District 6 Commissioner. I moved here at the end of 1998, brought my wife and 4 kids. And I have passionate love for old things, old houses, architecture in general, and I'm just thrilled to be on the ground floor of this thing.
Tim Jones, County Commissioner, District 23. I've lived in Sumner County for 50 years. My parents and my son and his family and my brother and his family all live in Cotton Town. And when I first learned about this because of a park that we had no idea was being constructed, we started digging into it, found that there was a house, and I just have a passion for doing things the right way. I don't like it when things are done in darkness or I just want things done.
Mr. Jeremy Mansfield. I was born and raised in Hendersonville, Tennessee, so grew up swimming over at Rock Castle from Salisbury, Walton area to Peninsula. We swim over to the castle. And of course, that was my historical upbringing as a child, just walking around an old house. I was a graphic design major at UT Knoxville, and based on an art history minor, so I had a lot of study with antiquities and a lot of old world stuff. And you're seeing a lot of stuff that's way older than this house or anything in Sumner County or in America. So we're just glad to be able to just do the right thing for the right reasons, for the right people at the right time. So I'm glad we're all here. So thank you guys. All right. Purpose and scope of this, just again, B, C, and D, without objection, cover all these at the same time. Obviously, the purpose and scope of this Ad-Hoc is born out of general operations. I think it's a good idea to get citizens involved, school board member involved, and get it out of general operations meetings, so we're not like having 2 or 3 hour meetings for that every night. We have other county business, and this is a good way just to be focused, and so we can spend as much time as we want to and call meetings when necessary for this. It has that flexibility as things happen over the next year. And so obviously our goal is this tonight. I hate Mr. Kotor is not able to come tonight. We would schedule this meeting around him to be able to be here. He had a family event with his son that came up, a sporting event that changed it. He's with his family tonight. That he did send an email that Commissioner Klein had outlined, kind of spoken with him about today, kind of given Commissioner Klein given an executive overview, which is kind of what Mrs. Kent printed out for us. Then Dave's going to walk us through. I have the photos he sent to us, both exterior and interior, that I'm going to show as Dave talks, and you can talk through things. The goal is we're not going to use full on stuff, and we'll suspend the rules when we get down to E, so we can just participate in that. The goal is, like, what are the options that we can take from this table to push up Gen Ops, to then push the budget, to then push the whole mission. But what is the vision that we see as community members that we're starting here, that as family members, stakeholders, and we get input on, like, what's the best way to preserve this house, and what are the options to do that? Is it one option? Is it 3 options? I don't know. We'll find out. Hopefully, know the one tonight. And what are the costs associated with it, most importantly, and the obstacles. It's obviously been like pulling teeth to be $2,500 approved to do these types of things, the full commission. So I hope the full commission is not as obstinate, and we'll do the right thing based on what's right, not just what's politically combative for the sake of being combative. So, but that is kind of the goals, the project scope of this as we move along, to really dive into plans and to do the groundwork for Gen Ops. Obviously, 4 of us are on Gen Ops, but to really do the groundwork here, so when we go to Gen Ops, it's a lot shorter process. I'm not spending an hour each Gen Ops meeting talking about this issue, which we've been doing. It's great, it's been needed, but it's been for exposure, just like do the right thing. It's so painful. Procedure orders, rules for the committee, obviously. Not my goal is to suspend the rules so we can just, kitchen conversation, table chat, so we're not almost stuffy. If we do take action on an item, I'll bring this back into the rules so we can then formally get the parliamentary procedure and take a vote. As far as ordered schedule of meetings, I don't know if we want to do a regularly scheduled meeting every month.
Yeah, procedure rules, just for the people here that aren't county commissioners or school board members. Make sure it's orderly, take turns and let the chair acknowledge you. And it's not about hurting feelings, it's about being orderly and speaking when your turn is and things like that. Don't get your guns hurt for point of orders, call on it just to get the meeting back in line. So just everything's just directed to the chair. We don't talk out here.
Unless we suspend the rules.
If we suspend the rules, then that's
a free-for-all.
It's for a specific purpose, and that should be stated in why we're suspending the rules. So,
thank you, Tim.
Where was the question?
No.
You said you had a question.
Oh, boy.
Exactly, thank
Should have made a
you.
comment. I was gonna ask you, you were gonna address that.
So there was a wildcat in them hills?
There really were, there still are.
There's cougars out there now.
Her name's Chrissy.
So as far as regular scheduled meetings, I don't know what days of the week work best for you guys. I mean, is like a Thursday evening work, Wednesday, obviously every Monday we're busy. Tuesdays, we have planning commission a lot of times, so it's Mondays and Tuesdays are out, but Wednesdays and Thursdays are flexes. So is there a night that's, are Wednesdays and Thursdays flexible on a monthly basis? Is Thursday the best night? Okay.
Are you making a tentative monthly meeting on a certain day, is that what you're asking?
I'm not sure if we need to. Yes, but we could go ahead and set it tentatively, just for the next 12 months if we wanted to.
The reason why I asked is because I was hoping that this committee could be flexible with regard to whenever we need to do something rather than wait a month. We do an ad hoc meeting to present something to the general operations or to the budget to be able to expedite the process. So
No,
hopefully
you
everything's
told me
open
that,
to that.
but
But for the tentative, you
I mean,
know.
maybe we can do maybe the third Thursday. Commission meets third Monday, third Thursday, easy enough. But that's going to be before.
Change it up.
It's going to be after the full commission meeting. It's going to be before Gen Ops and budget every month. So you can do the third or fourth, but keeping it flexible. But you guys want to go ahead and just go ahead and set a tentative date of every third Thursday and get on the calendar.
Yeah.
And then we can put out a notice that we reschedule it should we need to. All right.
I just,
motion for that.
a motion for every third Thursday.
That's second. All votes yeah.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, go ahead.
I did want to let you know that I just got a text from Chris Coker. He said next Thursday is clear, because you had talked about possibly.
Yes.
Tonight was the last game. It was the Super Bowl.
Okay, yeah.
His grandson Luke's team. I think it's his grandson.
So, yeah, so after we get done tonight, if you guys feel we want to meet next week and have Mr. Coker come back, so like, Gen Ops will be meeting on Monday, June 2nd, I guess, second, third. A week from now. So anything that we can do to expedite this process, as time is running short.
Yeah, I'd like to see us go as fast.
So are you guys flexible for next Thursday if we want to do another special call meeting? I mean,
I may be out.
okay, that's okay. But,
Very possibly might not be able to be here.
Jerry, you available? Mike, you available? Tim and David, you available? So we have at least 5, so we can only do 4 before, so we'll be around. But I want as many people here as possible to watch the video. It'd be a follow-up to tonight from what David shares, explains, and see how far we get into the satisfactory. All right, any other questions on that? What should be good, guys? All right, we've set every third Thursday. All right, item E, exploration for findings. I'll make a motion to suspend the rules.
Motion to suspend.
Second, by Commissioner Jones, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the floor is open, we suspend the rules. So, David, how do you want to, I know you have this, I've got the photos, so I'm going to just kind of hand it over to you right now.
Right, I think what I'll do is
You guys want to, do you want to take questions?
yeah, let's take questions as
While
we go.
you're going, interrupt you, so you want to just get through it all and we come back?
No, let's,
I'm going to. Yes, you direct me on like what we're talking
Okay.
about. And I can find it.
well, what I did with this, recompiling Chris's notes, is I put them in an order that made sense to me, which was house section A, first and second floor, and B and C, which I put together because we discovered prior to my designating B and C that those were actually one addition. So,
Can I interrupt you real quick?
Yes.
Also on the table, guys, is the map, a sketch that Chris Cook provided. So reference to, as David's talking, you guys can reference this.
yeah, you can see the living room is A, that's the original log house. What I thought was maybe an addition right after, but it was a dining room, which is B, and then the kitchen was C, but it ends up that the floor structure and the roof structure are continuous there, so B and C are actually one addition that he believes came in 1830 to 1840, is what he said in his notes. And then the laundry area, D, came much after. It's got modern construction materials. And we're not sure yet, but it may have been kind of a side garden area. And this is just on the side, but This wall right here in the dining room has a double door opening out that we found when we pulled the wall away.
So it would have been an exterior.
Would have been an exterior double door, and it's interesting because it's very short. It's like, you know, regular door sizes today are 6'8". This might be 6'2" or 6'4".
Into the laundry room?
Yeah, and I think the laundry room wasn't there. It might have been a garden area or something.
Assume that laundry room was out.
Yeah.
So that's right here.
Yes, yes. And as we discover things, I will upgrade the as-bills to move on. I ran out of time today, or I would have taken Chris's drawings and gone a little further. So in his report, the first area was observations, and house section A, which is the log cabin area. He says, logs. All log units look good inside and out at both first and second floor levels. Some rot is present, but he said it's not substantial. The northern side, which is the side that faces the hill, away from the street, shows more deterioration. That makes sense because that's the oncoming wind usually comes from that direction. But it's definitely salvageable. Okay, so first floor, this floor is newer than the walls and the roof. The foundation.
When you go to the,
yeah.
photos of the interior,
Yeah.
you want to go to the wall like that.
Yeah, that's the B and C. So keep going down. Keep going. Okay, let's see. Keep going.
This is it. These are all.
No, is that all the pictures?
That's all I got. That's all I sent.
Really? I got more.
Oh, he didn't send me more. That's all you emailed me.
Well, I've labeled them all.
Well, here, we can, use your computer, I can hook it up here.
Okay.
Can do that. Or you just,
Yeah.
here, you just do this. That's how Davis.
Oh, you know what? He doesn't have any photos of that. I'm sorry, Jeremy.
Probably, well, here's, let me hook it back up and run.
Okay, right here. Okay, so the floor structure, what it appears to us, and we got into this a little bit last time.
Sorry. And over, okay.
That's the second floor of the log cabin there, but it's fine. The first floor, it appears that the log cabin was lifted.
This one? Where do you want me to go?
There's really nothing.
There's a wall, you just want you to show you interior wall.
Yeah. There's nothing that addresses it, so.
Okay.
So, you know, that's log cabins. We'll just leave it there for point right now. So the foundation is concrete, but he believes now, after looking at it the second day he went out there, that concrete foundation was meant primarily for the brick veneer. So it does have some of the floor resting on it, the front and to some degree the sides, but the entire floor of the log cabin area has been rebuilt using more modern materials. It's got some sort of a 2x8, but it's narrower than 1.5 inches. It's more like 1.25 inches. And
This floor?
yeah, it's underneath that floor.
Four joists. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, it's cut out. Some of these boards right here, they just cut out the floor.
yeah. Well, what I'm going to do is draw something over him. What he's done here. So what happened in that floor is there was a triple 2x8 beam that runs side to side, everybody. And then they've got these funky 2x8s that run, they're sitting on top of the concrete foundation there, which is under the logs, and then they're running on top of this this triple beam that was built in place. And that beam has 3 piers that are made out of concrete block. It's not new. I've never seen 8x16 blocks that had 3 cells instead of 2, but these ones have 3 cells. So it's quite old. And so that floor structure is totally new. It's got 3/4 inch underlayment, which is your standard thickness now. And when we get into B and C, I'll show you how that's different. But it's 1x8s that run side to side again, like, you know, and that would have been opposite of what was there. Because what would have been there is log beams running this way, and then the 1x floor would have run side to side and would have been just left that way. So, but the rest of the structure is, you know, is mostly original in that log area. So then on top of the 1x's, the wide plank 1x's that are running side to side, there is there's, go back to that floor now. That one right there. That's what is running throughout the house right now. Right. And this was in the living room, or the log cabin area. There was carpet over this. There's linoleum in the kitchen area, and one section where they have what appears to be a Franklin stove to a fireplace. They had actual concrete blocks on top of it. And so we removed one of those to see that wood runs underneath it. So that's running throughout. That's important to know because we're going to have a decision to make at some point regarding that, if we want the old white plank look or if we want to leave this. So the walls over the logs and behind the brick veneer had 2 sidings on it. And so I'm on section.
Exterior or interior?
Exterior.
All right. So, were you going to look at this one?
Yeah, either one of those is fine. So you see the vertical pieces of wood? That was furring material, and what they did is there was originally a lap siding, like an 8-inch lap siding, and you can kind of see it on the left, Tim. You can probably. So that's the siding, okay? and then further to the left, there's this white kind of board below. That's kind of a cementitious siding that was.
Is asbestos shingles?
It might be.
Yeah.
It might be. We didn't. We
thought that because Chris did mention that.
Yes, because they used to use them.
So that's what was over it, and that was the last exterior surface before the brick came in the late 50s or early 60s. So that was continuous all the way around the house. So that tells you that all came after the addition of the kitchen and the dining room. So now, Jeremy, find the opening that looks into the dining room.
Exterior opening?
Interior. Yeah. Right there. Okay, you can see it's trimmed with 1x8s, looks like. What they did is they removed, the vertical 1x6.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that opening is about 12 feet wide. They removed logs to do that. And when you're standing inside the house, it's a little hard to tell here, or upstairs, you can see that the entire floor drops about 4 inches. That's going to have to be dealt with, and we can deal with it with posts, probably be a whole lot easier than trying to find logs that match.
Are you saying that there's, I'm just noticing that all the way across. Right, but on the top, it's like, these over here are higher than over here.
Yeah.
I know that was just a picture doing that, or.
No, that log
This whole log has that.
There's no header. That is the header.
Yeah, the log was the header. Okay.
And it wasn't enough because there's logs above it, because there's a second floor above it, and roof structure bearing on it. So that's a structural issue. One of the problems, and this is just an aside, is we don't have good founding below the floor there. There's no foundation or anything. So that's going to be a little tricky, whether we use posts or a wall section or what. We're going to have to make decisions on what to do with this opening. Obviously, it is a very early opening. And here again, Chris Coker thinks like 1830 to 1840. So it's almost the original house, but that has to be dealt with. Item 3 under walls, the fireplace and vent stack, although showing signs of modification over the years, is in excellent condition. So you can go to the fireplace from the inside, Jeremy. Yeah. The one your arrow's on right now. Yeah. Okay, great. I'm sorry. So you can see that there were modifications made. You can kind of see them here. Put that all covered up. You got to be exposed. Well, no. Is that like that? No, that was all like that. Okay. Now, use the carpet being gone. You can see an opening in here in the flue where we think there was probably another pipe or stove. Right there. But we're not sure yet how original all of this is. This is contemporary fire brick that's using calcium aluminum cement that's baked. That wouldn't have existed back then. So, but it's a beautiful fireplace.
David, let me ask you,
needs
regardless, if you cut, was that cut in, those logs gone, or is that a, scab on in front of those logs, and just cut right where the pit is?
He made the point, and it's an excellent point, that in those days, especially when the kitchen wasn't added on until at least 1830, they would have cooked in there. And so it would have been a much bigger opening. And so I don't know when we start looking in the flue if we're going to see hooks for hanging pots, or we don't know.
I mean, archway right here, I mean, there's something built in here.
Looks like metal.
Or you think that's just a veneer where they're just doing that?
That's why I was asking if it was added on front of the face.
I don't know, and we're going to have to do, as we get into the whatever we decide to do, we will find out a lot more about that fireplace.
You spoke to the fire bricks. How old are they? Can you tell by the
There you see them around. They're kind of a buff color, and they didn't exist back in the 1700s or 1800s. I'm not sure when they came in. I could do some research on fire brick.
That might have been all with the remodeling he did and adding the brick on the outside. They might have redone some of the fireplace too.
Yeah,
in the 60s.
They may have, but the stone would have been able to withstand any kind of heat. It would not have, had a problem at all. So he says tuck pointing has taken place in the more recent past as the original mortar is under the newer grout. That's from the outside.
What's tuck pointing?
Tuck pointing is where a mason comes back and chips out or wire brushes out anything that's soft, because mortar over time will give up, especially when it's exposed to heat. Well, it's the mortar between the stones or between brick. And this is common that you have to have a mason come back and he'll take a pointed trowel and he'll knock out any loose mortar and then put in new mortar to protect the structure underneath. So that's what tuck pointing is. Let's see. Moving to the second floor.
I don't think he took, other than the attic photos, I don't think he took any second floor photos.
Yeah, probably.
What's to the bottom there?
This is the floor underneath.
It's like a chicken.
It looks like some sort of an animal.
A sheep.
I looked at that. I meant to ask you.
It looks like a chicken.
It looks like some sort of
species that we discovered
yeah.
in the house.
It looks like an owl.
On them wildcats.
Yeah, it could be. It's some sort of a bird, I think.
Maybe penguin.
That's totally what it is.
It might be a barn owl. It could be a barn owl.
That's one of Buzzard's probably right, because it's a beadboard, a 1x8 beadboard, and he says that didn't come into common use till the late 19th century. And so they may have had trouble with it, removed the subfloor, because what's above this is plywood.
And then it's the carpets.
And that's underneath the carpet.
The carpet up there, yeah, right?
No. We pulled some of it back just to see what the flooring was like, because we thought we'd maybe see this, but we saw plywood on top of it. And that plywood could have been put there just for the carpet, as an underlayment for the carpet. You just don't know. And here again, we didn't want to spend all the money tearing all that stuff out. We just wanted to do the exploration. We know that at least 2 of the original windows were buried, and new windows were put outside. So we're going to have, that's going to be one of the decisions we're going to have to make, is what do we do about, do we make the old window locations?
What do you mean by buried?
Well, what they did is the windows upstairs were right here, and what they did is they buried it under wall material.
So you guys
Yeah, drywall.
Covered it up, I got
Yeah,
it.
they covered it.
windows, would you suppose with brick, take the brick off?
Well, we know there was one window here that got buried. We don't know here because that's the bathroom that we have not torn any walls off of. There is a new window further to the corner, and from the attic in here, you can see there was another window buried here that was opposite of this one. I'm assuming that there probably was one here, and maybe there is one in the bathroom, because there's one further out in the bathroom now.
So those windows were probably part of the original
Right.
log cabin.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what we're going to have to, one of the decisions we're going to have to make is, do we want to have the old window locations and try to match logs on the new windows, or do we want to stay with where the new windows are, which are much bigger windows, not typical of the period, because glass was expensive in the 1700s. And, so one way or the other, if we want to have exposed logs on the outside, we're going to have to replace logs. I think my tendency would say, let's go with the original window locations, because we want to make it as authentic as possible. We got to find logs anyway.
How close are they to the windows?
They're fairly close. There's probably a foot or foot and a half in between them.
How big are they?
Well, the smaller one is probably 24 by 30 or 36, and the bigger one is a modern window that's wider and not as tall. Probably like four wide by 3 high or something like that.
Wouldn't be out of the question, weird to just combine them with one window?
I think it would be. I think it'd be weird. But what we'll want to do sooner than later is this whole group do a tour, because we want to see what we're making decisions on. And maybe that's what we do next Thursday, if the weather was permit. So finally, we never went up into the attic. We could kind of see up, and all the timbers and everything looked fine up there, but we got to rip out a closet to get up there. We just didn't think it was worth the time at this point. We know it's the original roof structure, and it's in good shape because there's no sagging or anything.
What are you talking about right here?
No, I'm talking about over, no, neither of those is that. I'm talking about over the log area.
That's the new addition, or the newer part of the?
No, that's B and C.
Well,
That's the 18.
The dining and kitchen.
Yeah, that's the 1830 edition. So that's all that we had on section A.
What the dates are on those newspapers?
Oh, I looked at some of them. Some of them are from the 70s, and yeah. What we did see, Stephen, that you haven't seen is upstairs on one of the walls is a picture of the Tennessee Methodist or the Methodist Journal or something. I took a picture. I'll show it to you afterwards. And it's from 1891. It was like lacquered or varnished to the old logs. they must have used it for insulation, where the chinking was maybe leaking air or something. Okay, so house sections B and C, I've combined them because we discovered they were built the same way. So that's basically where this opening is, all the way back to the back of the house. You can see the framing where I took the wall
So
off.
right here, B, this opening is, what you see right here is the dining room.
Yeah, this
On this map, on this drawing, which you,
Yeah,
this is, you see this doorway right here, that's going back to the kitchen back behind that door.
Standing in the living room, looking into the dining room, looking this way.
Yeah, we're,
There you go, right there.
this is what you're looking at, right? Upside down.
right.
We're in the living room, we're looking into the dining room, we're looking through that.
Right.
It's
So
the kitchen.
this right there is this right here.
Yeah.
So this framing is typical of all exterior walls. So those are like a 4x4, and they've got a lot of these cross-brace lettings. That's this wall, that's the exterior walls, it's the back wall. All of them are like that. The floor is the round logs where we saw the bird. So those are what he calls debarked round logs. So this is underneath. This is underneath all of that area of B and C.
Okay.
And these planks, these ramps, you can see they're random width. This might be 6 inches, this might be 14, this might be 8 right there. Those are all 1 1/4 inch thick planks. That's original. These are all original. Yeah.
So you're saying that was the floor, or that was the subfloor?
That was the floor.
So they had nothing between the
Right.
joists and the floor.
Right. Until they put the hardwood floor above it, and that must have come sometime in the early 1900s. And they probably, because they didn't like air coming up through the planks.
How far is that from the ground to the bottom of the beam?
It's probably 24 to 30 right here, but it narrows down a little bit.
Unless we have a soil pipe laying right on the ground.
Right.
That's kind of weird.
And most of this, he said, was supported by rock. And they must have had a failure. You see the split in that log right there? So they brought block here and wedged a 2x4. Yeah, it's just, make it work. That's what they did. So, frontier engineering.
That electrical right there
So
going.
this
Flooring is inch and a half, whatever they can get. That's running the entire, the dining room.
Right.
That's running the entire length.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's not tuck and groove, and I'm sure it's just front jointed.
All here, this flooring
Everywhere,
is,
all the way to the back wall.
All of B and C, right?
Yeah, all of B and C.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is cool. When we do the tour, you guys are gonna love it.
I'll make that.
I thought it was a bird.
Hardwood look weird.
Yeah, I'll let you crawl under and look at the bird. And then on top of the kookaburra. Yeah. So, like I said, above the planking is the hardwood floor, the 2 1/8, and we need to make a decision whether we want to see the random width planking, or if we want to leave it the oak floor.
I mean, how old,
This is probably 100 years, 120 maybe. That's
around 1900 in this floor.
probably.
What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I think we need to know cost to know what decisions to make. We're gonna need to know what everything's gonna cost to see how much money we have before we decide to put floors that could be refinished, correct? They could be
They
refinished.
could be refinished, yeah.
I think that might be a cheaper option than just,
Foreseeably, over in the corner or somewhere that's not in the main area, they might cut out a small section of this floor and expose the other floor underneath it so people can see what was originally there.
Yeah, put a piece of plexiglass or
Or
something.
put glass over it so they can see.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, and actually all the way through to see the logs
Beneath.
would be really cool.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And those are good options. The walls, Jeremy, go back to that dining room, because that's a pretty good So those 4x4s that are running vertically with the diagonal some of them are hand hewn and some of them are sawn. And like I say, they're around 24-inch on center. There's another picture, Jeremy, that shows the same kind of wall section. That's close to where that Franklin stove was. That one right there. Okay, so you see the same thing. This wall here, if you look through it, you'd be looking through the dining room. You look through this wall, and you're looking into the laundry area D. This is a fireplace that was used. You can just barely see the circle where the Franklin stove is plugged into it. It's very old.
So that's in the dining room?
That's in the dining room. Oh, no, it's in the kitchen area. Okay. So,
That's exposed, and it's got cap on it.
Right.
You can see that, yeah, before that wall was taken down, you could see it still there, yeah.
yeah.
David, that's the floor right there, is the concrete floor, the block floor.
Oh, it's right here.
Yeah.
Right here, yeah. Yeah, you didn't quite get into the picture, but you can see a little bit of it there. So one of the things about this, you can tell is really old because this is wood lath and plaster. And you almost never see that anymore. You can see the white lines, that was the cement, the plaster. And what they would do is take like a 3/8-inch thick piece of resawn wood, and they would just hammer. And that's what all these nail holes were for. They would just hammer it in place. And then the plasters would come in and they would mortar a scratch coat, do a brown coat, and then a finished plaster.
But they had that like the 1940s.
They did. Well, they didn't do wood lath much after 1930.
Okay.
You know, I redid a house that was built in 1910, and this was throughout. But when you get into the later years, it was 1930s when they started using plasterboard with holes in it. So, because it was just a lot less.
Metal lath.
In metal iron.
Did you check the diagonal cuts made on the 2x4s to get that diagonal board in that reinforcement? How was that done?
No, I didn't look real closely.
That's a big deal.
We were rushing through. So we were
Because most times nowadays, they choose to do that with a skill saw and knock it out with a hammer, but if that's still a hatchet or a chisel or whatever, that diagonal cut, depth has to be just right, and that would be.
Yeah, I would imagine today they had saws in the 1830s that they could do with that, but they would have used chisels. So anyway, these walls are throughout that back area, which was another indication that it's very old. And of course, the lath and plaster makes it quite old too.
Did you say what that is right there on the right side, the blocks going up?
That's a fire.
Flue. Is it stacked?
For a Franklin
Okay.
stove, there's a connection.
Well, it's ceramic or, not something, it's like clay,
Yeah, it looks
solid blocks.
It looks like concrete, which
It does.
shouldn't have withstood the heat, but.
David, is that the?
Oh,
is that
no,
the-
this is brick here.
Yeah, but the low ones are brick blocks.
This is block, which is just supporting the brick, because the heat was intense right here. And so they had enough brick to displace all the heat that might go down, and then it was brick all the way up. Yeah, I forgot about
Is that where that little raised platform is in there? Right in front of that, isn't it?
Right
Yeah,
there.
that's what I tripped over it twice, once going in and once coming out.
What are you doing in there?
But those break the law. Have you read it?
Public property.
Public property, there's a little sign down there that says that.
How old could they be?
I don't know. And, you know, that fire pit
It's after that.
yeah, but this could have been put in after the addition. I would assume so.
Because the kitchen edition says 1840.
1830 to 1840, but this Franklin stove, they may have not decided to do that until 1890,
Would they have brick old blocks then?
maybe. You know, Chris was gonna do some of that research, I didn't get it.
That's on the corner of the section that we're kind of considering taking out.
Take it out, yeah.
Because that's going into the mudroom, laundry room, right?
Mhm.
So that's why I was asking.
Yeah, the doorway to the laundry
Right there.
is right here.
Yeah. That's on the corner, so.
On the
So
corner.
it's not, that's a point that we'll have to consider what to do.
Right. Okay, so,
But there's the buildings.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So, Jeremy, go to one of those attic pictures now.
Yeah, it's a whole story, just different generations.
So, this is the back directly above the kitchen cabinets and everything. You can see that these roof rafters, actually the ones that are lower, those are the originals. They tagged on or sistered these other ones later to cover over the laundry area. You don't see that on this side, but these are all pretty much hand-hewn rafters. And this is the back gable wall over your kitchen's back wall. And so you get a really good idea of the construction and what age those materials were. What you have all the way over the dining room and the kitchen are 4x4s or 4x8s, 4x6s. I never got to the bottom of it because there's so much blown insulation. And I don't know what the ceiling is, but it feels like it's wood. So it may have been covered with drywall, but it feels like wood when I pound on it. So that is consistent all the way from the end of the log cabin or the beginning of the dining room, all the way back. And they're running from the wall. This is a 20-foot span from here to here.
David, just crawling through that little access hole and then looking on down towards the.
Right, after you come up the stairs to do a 180.
Okay, I got the opposite view of that.
So, I'm gonna bring up the floor plan. So, right, this wall right here, that exterior wall, the window,
Right.
that's right
Right
at the
here.
bottom.
Right.
So, you're upstairs looking in.
Right about here.
The photo's being taken right in here, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You come up the stairs and then the opening to the attic is right here.
Could they have taken some of the material that they removed under section A and used it to scab on to those rafters up there to go above the laundry room?
They could have, but the timbers would have been much bigger. Floor timbers would have been huge. Because they were making a span of about 20 feet.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. So the laundry room D, is that something that needs to be gotten rid of or not?
I think so. Chris definitely thinks so.
Okay, because we don't want anything that's not obviously original, but that would bring, you bring it back to the 1790s up to the 1830s
When he
with
climbed,
A and B and C.
when he climbed under here, and this is about 8 inches lower than this floor here, he said and this is where that access is that we've seen from the back of the building. It's right here. He said all of this framing is very similar to this framing. So whenever they replaced the floor in the log cabin, and it could have been around 1900, that may have been when they built this. We think all of this was 1830. So we've got 1790 here, 1830, and maybe 1900 to 1920, somewhere in there.
Over here it says 1960s, so what are we?
That was
The remodel.
That's the brick veneer.
Yeah, that's the remodel.
And it could have been that late. It actually could have been that late because if the brick veneer, if the foundation was put in, the concrete foundation around the house was put in to support the brick, it would make sense that they did that in 1960. So there's a lot of,
Some of the laundry room baskets in 1960.
it could have been. It could have been. And we won't know until we really dig into this flooring. The thing is, in 1960, regular 2x4s were about 1 5/8 by 3 3/4. I didn't see that when I opened up the wall right here. So those studs were later, and it's a big mystery. It's a big jigsaw puzzle trying to figure this out. He wrote 1960. So, but also he thinks maybe for this roof, because he's saying 1830 to 1840 is this, 1790 is this.
Right.
And he thinks it's 1960, and it might have been. It might have been. Because I didn't see any sign of wood plaster here, so.
The main point being, more than likely D is something that we take away.
Right.
Less to have to renovate and go back to A
chooses to keep it as a service area, that is your decision. So, might want to use that historic thing, it's got a bath in it.
Okay.
So that could be just the modern, keep that on just for, right, modern. Okay. Okay, so his recommendations, from what I've observed on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, I believe the overall condition of the house to be a 6.5 to 7. Considering the age of the house, 200 plus years, this is not bad at all. So his recommendation is 1, to expose the log walls inside and out and fix the issues noted above. 2, apply an exterior oil sealer on the logs and install new chinking throughout the house. You won't know about that until you expose everything. Keep the 1840s edition. It's too old to discard. Demo the 1960s edition. 5, if you want the original wide plank flooring look, then demo the P&G strip flooring throughout the house. Remove the subfloor in Section A in the log cabin, because that's newer, and install wide random planks. Otherwise, the current hardwood floor looks presentable. And then 6, demo all existing utilities and bring the house up to code. And then he's got some costs here that are not complete. And I talked to him about that. And the reason they're not complete is because until we remove the brick on the outside and all the wall surfaces on the inside of the log cabin, we just don't know how much we're going to have to replace in logs, how much chinking we're going to have to do, and what it's going to cost. So, until it is determined what the final use of the house will be, and that's also something we're going to have to decide. I think we kind of have decided that it's not going to be for, you know, it's not going to be Disneyland there. We're not going to have people going through and leaving it open like the Douglas Clark house.
I mean, you've got the bridal house, for example, Sumner County, the county has turned over to a Friends of group. Had a discussion about that being formed for the Latimer house, and where it's just like, basically just like bridal house, you can't go in and you want to, but for the public, it's run by a non-profit group. So I perceive this being the same type of situation, and one that's no cost to do that. Other than just whatever the basic utilities the county is paying for the bridal house would be about the same for this, which is minimal. And obviously, hopefully, if there's funds left over on the renovation, we can apply that, towards what the council says for the professional maintenance and upkeep of the home. And so that's, you know, I hope that we can actually save some funds to go, whether it's $10,000 a year, $5,000, whatever, you know, it is to I can't remember the bridal house was a year worth of work. I think it's apples to apples comparison on how it's run, how it's accessible, the accessibility of it. It's not, you know, as far as like, I think you need like a basic bathroom in there, because like you might have a civic group or, you know, open for, you know, a period day, something. You know, you might, you have kids, school tours, you know, kids come in from different schools to do tours, part of elementary school tours and stuff like that. The bridal house does that. But it's open up, they have the days and put period pieces in there, you know, and retrofit it back to 1790s, early 1800s. But more, not like the Douglas Clark house. That was based on a grant. You have to have a full-time employee there all the time, and it's like, and the house almost looks like it's very, it doesn't look like the originality, in my opinion, like the bridal house does. Right. Like this will look with this wood. It's almost like plastic. The Douglas Clark house. I mean, I'm not using the right description there. It's a bit more.
The Douglas Clark house is too perfect.
Correct. It's not. It doesn't have that period imperfection that you expect with just working with a gym like this.
They had limited tools, and they were.
I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but that's my opinion, and I know that for citizens' sake, that talk about people get that comparisons. I think that's where we've heard that, that means stuff. It makes the most sense, one, from an affordability standpoint, two, from an accessibility standpoint, and three, you can control and limit access to it. It's not just wide open, you know. And the Friends group, I think something we can form that could be run as a nonprofit, just like what they did for the bridal house. Do the same thing here.
Yeah.
At Bridal House, they're open 1 week in a month, and on once a quarter, they have a speaker come in.
Yeah.
And cedar logs, about like that, with the oak plank sitting on top of them. Very simple, very cheap, and it looks period. I mean, it really does. I mean, it looks really good. But they have someone come in and speak, like say once a quarter, and they call it If These Laws Could Talk. And they've done a really good job over there. If any of y'all have never gone over to the House, you really need to go when they have it up for house and just get a feel for it. Because they've done a great job. Yeah, they've done a great job over there.
So, but that, I bring that up because you say until it's determined what the final use of the house will be. Well, I think that's what we're determining. We're modeling it after like the Brown House with the same accessibility. It's not like that was like that. It's limited access. Set times. You don't just walk in the house.
Right.
Right.
And that's the way I would see it too.
I know, I've already walked in it. I'm sorry.
You want to say one thing, Jeremy? Okay, I wanted to have that, when he talked about utilities and why you're, yeah, because to answer his question, I think we've answered it, of like what we think would be best for that, since all utilities are just a ballpark. I'm curious now, knowing, okay, this is what it's like, so well, our utilities, what else?
If that's what we're gonna do, is that I don't think it's needed much in electrical. We probably want to have air conditioning, and that's why I made sure we didn't throw away that HVAC unit. Maybe we want to use it, but maybe we want to go with something along.
I think you want to have
Like a mini split system. That may do the trick. And that's a lot less expensive than all this stuff.
Not to worry to run the ductwork, yeah.
Yeah, you talk about that.
Well, yes, there's several manufacturers. Mitsubishi makes one.
Yeah.
They've got an outside compressor condenser unit, and then they've got something about this big.
Yeah, I mean, it's on the wall.
Yeah. That may be a way to go. We'll just have to do some research in that.
Our cousin that owns the old Williamson house in Goodlettsville, that came down through the family over there, and he actually has two of those that he's installed inside the house right there. And I asked him when we were over there for the Easter meeting gathering right there, and I said, how's it doing? He said, they're great. So they don't take up as much space, and
It's small piping that goes from the outside to the inside.
No, they're not cheap. You still can get these things up, $10,000 to $15,000 per unit up for one of those things. So it's not, I don't think you're saving money necessarily from doing it.
Oh, they've come down a lot. You can buy that.
They're a lot cheaper than that.
Lowe's now.
What depends on the quality you get and the lifetime expectancy of what you're expecting. Yeah, I'll just say that. It depends on, I guess, the harsh usage and the harsh. I'd say this, my brother has my grandfather built a brick beach house in Florida on the Panhandle in the 1950s. No HVAC. He has to use those to like salt water, obviously corrosive. It just depends on the harshness of the environment. Exactly. Exactly. The humidity here in summer. We go from 0 degrees in the winter to 100 degrees in the summer. Right. The same year. Yeah.
So I've got two of those in the dance studio. They've been working pretty well. So.
Yeah, I've got one in my center.
Yeah. But just point being, I don't know.
We'll have to do research.
It'd be
Because we don't want to, have a constant maintenance issue. So, he's got electrical at 16,000. I don't know that it's gonna be that much, maybe by the time you run power from the street or whatever.
You would want like lighting in there.
Yeah.
Be like almost like a museum type light where it's spotlighting. You're going to in the corners, spotting out, like giving a look so you can highlight things or feature. You put period pieces in there, so you don't have to have some good electrical running, so you can get some uplighting, spotlighting, can lighting.
But like typical residential has to have a plug every 12 feet. I don't think we want that. Probably don't need that. So plumbing, 13,000. Here again, it depends on. We've already got a bunch of plumbing there.
You've got plumbing upstairs, but more than likely that's going to be all be broken down. That's back in the top of the corner, right?
Right, but if we kept the 1960s,
that could be your, just remodel that, and that's the public restroom.
But you're ripping out fixtures, not necessarily plumbing.
Correct.
right,
You got lines that go, that may still be fine.
yeah, and they are. I think they are. HVAC 20,000. I'm sure that'll cover whatever we would do in there.
Well, you're talking about plumbing, that bath is downstairs, right? You're probably talking about like some more, I don't know, I guess we'd have to be ADA, compliant with this. We're not doing a green or anything, it's just, I don't know, what is the bridal house? I mean, is it just the bathroom with the bar?
The bridal house is definitely not ADA.
Okay.
They got an exemption.
They got an exemption.
Yeah, I talked to Ms. Wright, and she said they got an exemption because it was a historical.
But that's something we gotta figure out, if we are or we're not, or is there somewhere in between where we make it historical?
Yeah, we're not going, we talked about Dennis, we're not going for historical ranch for periods of like salt politics and the stupidity that happened around that.
Right.
And then you get like all these things, this is just like, we're gonna restore it, and then when it's done, you know. We got a custodial group, a 501c3. Correct, but it's like, but I mean, then we can look, you put it on the registry after that maybe, or we can, you know, make our own plaque, I mean, you know, we wanna have some kind of.
We should probably ask our law director if what the regulation is for non-historical. If we don't register it as historical, do we have to do ADA? Is there something in between where we can fall into not having to do an ADA, knowing that we're gonna try to make it historical or as period correct as possible?
I'd be curious to know the bridal house, whether, what the county did with that, when they, after the gentleman passed away, the county acquired it in 2019. Did they do what needed to be done and then go try to get on the historic registry, because that's a big difference versus just somebody, a house that's a resident, you know, if you won't do it. I mean, this is a house that's a resident. I mean, there's no restriction on what we do here. It's what we're restricting.
Right, they had to go backwards.
But once you start getting historical side involved, that's when you, I think that's one thing Chris talked about. Like, if you put a roof stuff, that's when you have to go like the original hammer nails. You have to do the same method. You take a $200,000 to $300,000 project and turn it into a $2 million project.
Yeah.
Because
I've heard just with extreme caution going through the historical registry, because then there's all these rules that.
We don't intend to do that until we're done, because it's like, it wouldn't be affordable, it'd be cost prohibitive. And it would take years versus like, okay, we can still do it, you know, use modern techniques to hide it, to bring it up to the historical standard, versus we can go through that process. I mean, it's like wood nails, like mounts and like bonnets. I mean, you have to wear a bonnet while you're doing it. Keep the eyes away. So, you see what I'm thinking. I mean, since we're getting into the nitty gritty here, this is what we're are interested in. Like, when do we get past like fluff and get into like, okay, what are we gonna do? Let's start making some decisions. Yeah, I think we're eager to get there, but that's, I mean, to answer his questions, I wish Chris was here, but you know, I think we have some exploring to do as far as.
Yeah, we do. We have a lot of research and explore, and we can count on him because a lot of this he just knows naturally. I've got a friend up in Macon County that I'm going to take through the house too. He's kind of become the historic building repair guy up in Macon County, and I want to get his opinion. I want to get him and Chris together so that those guys can see what, you know, they've encountered, since they both work on historic houses in this Middle Tennessee area. And I can get Rex there for nothing, I'm sure. He just loved going through it. So what I wanted to say about this area here, okay, let's focus on the roof structure. Jeremy, go back to the picture that I was talking about the hand unit, that one right there. Okay, these top rafters look to be about the same age as the lower ones. And those are the ones that go all the way to the outside wall of the laundry room. They go all the way. And so that appears that at least there was a 10-foot covered patio area. Yeah, it could have been. So, you know, we'll know more when we get into it. But when you look at the one-by sheathing of, you know, underneath the roof, and you know, none of these were sheet metal roofs, and that's another thing we want to think about. Do we want to use historic roof material? What would have been? I think it would have been cedar shake or something like that. But you know, the problem with cedar shake is it deteriorates a lot faster than sheet metal does. So maybe we want to just leave the sheet metal. I don't know that there's.
I think the sheet metal would be fine.
Yeah, it's kind of becoming a historic thing.
But I don't have something that sheet metal.
Yes.
Sheet metal on top too, so it is the same thing. Right.
Cedar, once you've taken that, it's yours for the.
Yeah,
Right there, I think.
My house in California had a cedar shingle roof.
Yes.
Geez, it's under 10 years and it's already going, so. But he did talk about other costs to consider, $8,000 to remove the existing roof, $18,000 to put a new roof on, remove the brick veneer and all siding material underneath it, $16,000, remove entire porch, so that's the top, and you can see where that's tied into the logs, they really butchered it up pretty bad. And the concrete slab, he's thinking $10,000. Dumpster fees are $4,800, new windows and doors, $14,000. That's one of those things, we own with my son's a building on the square in Gallatin, and I was looking at getting modern windows to fit in. We ended up buying a truckload of Eastern red cedar, and we built the windows from scratch ourselves. It's a lot of money to do that way, but there is a big difference in old wood windows and new plastic windows or new metal windows. So I'm sure he's not talking about hand-built windows here. He's probably talking about getting a window guy out. I think I brought him out some actually written on black painting. I can't remember. Could be. You can see it's wavy. I thought it was. I might be suspecting.
I don't think the back part is back there where they.
The new part?
Yes, the new part, yeah. I don't think that, I think that is.
But maybe the windows in the wall.
Yeah,
that's like almost like an old.
Yeah, it was a patio, that's what that was, and they did it with like a little
So new
garden room or
new doors and windows, you know, we can, that can wait a little while. And then he has driveway question marks because he's not a concrete guy, and new concrete entrance from the back way. So, you know, it's well under $500,000 what he's got here, but he's not including everything. He's not including log replacement, he's not including chinking. You know, there's many things that aren't included, but he felt confident when we first went through it that it's not a $500,000 job.
But what he's got listed is $119,800, so.
But that's not finishing work.
No, I know, that's what he's got listed here.
Multiply that times 3.
Yeah.
We're still well under our budget.
I mean, I don't think really we can make any decisions until we actually get him in front of us.
Yeah, but I mean, I want to talk about it myself here. I can get out of the table. Yeah. So I think, you know, some of the things that we need to talk about is the 501c3. I really feel strongly that somehow we should have custodial groups. You know, and I'm not talking about just the Bridal House, just the Brown House. I'm talking about the Draper House and the old post office. There are a lot of historic buildings around here that the citizens, the local citizens will do a much better job taking care of it than the county will. And we should, because they take pride in it.
Well, we have an example that was started by the county with the Bridal House.
Yeah.
They set the precedent on that. The county did.
And that's what I'm hoping out of this 501c3 that the neighbors, you and the Latimers are talking about.
What is the footprint of that house? How much property is in the house itself as far as the ground that the house is sitting on? How much?
About the Latimer?
Yes.
In the fenced area?
Like an acre.
Doesn't matter.
Well, it's
Doesn't matter.
what's right now, it's 80 acres.
Okay, yeah.
So, I mean, but
The
the part that was excluded from the park plan that they got grant for was using this money that was supposed to go to the house and was wrongly leveraged. They drew out literally like an acre square.
I think it's at 0.8 acres, is what I recall.
It's reincorporated back now, so
I'm
it's all one big.
But it was, I'm not the portion that was drawn out of their parks plan. And it literally was like forbidden to have anything done with it based on the grant they got and use this, we're trying to use this money for it. But that roughly an acre of center beach it is.
I was just curious, just spitballing down the road. You know, once they get the house done, that house is in a central location. Since the Board of Education controls the property there.
Well, it's a county.
The county,
Well, they don't control, it's not controlled by the board.
It's jointly, yeah.
What about allowing the 4-H clubs and the FFA departments from each school to have a little plot on the outskirts of that house that they can come in and practice? You know, they don't have any place that they can go and practice, agriculture or planting and growing things. What would possibly be an idea for that? That would almost be like a campus for them, where they can come and do things like that.
Sure, I mean, there's plenty of things you can do there outside of the house itself. So, I mean, and those are great ideas. I think once we get on that road or offering it, but that's,
I mean, we were gonna do it with the Culver barn, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
But that doesn't make a opinion involved.
Correct, that doesn't involve the house.
No, it doesn't involve the house.
But
We're just focusing on.
Yeah.
Getting access to the house, the whole property is just there. Go in there, walk on it right now, it's a public park. I mean, the commission has named it the William Martha Brown Memorial Park, but the whole thing is a public park.
Been a park for about a year and a half.
Yeah, so, April 2024.
So, one actionable item that I can see on here is, do we want to go ahead and press for getting a cut-in right there for access to the house? That needs to probably go through either the schools or highway. We're in between. We haven't adopted that road yet, but so we would probably end up doing the work anyway. So how do we want to present that? No, I'm saying the ownership of the responsibility right now is the school, because the Pathway is owned by the school, so all that concrete and everything they've done, but Toby would probably be the one to do the work regardless.
Right.
So who do we need to talk to about going ahead and cutting that in, and then we could get some gravel, perhaps we could even get Rogers Group or something like that to donate some gravel for a driveway.
Was there a driveway?
Originally there was.
Yeah, that's all grown over.
But there's a bed there for it, so.
You can see it from the road, you can drive down Wolfpack.
Refresh.
So I have Cindy McCullough's favorite sheet. That's right here, but, this right here, Stephen, is one thing that is, I'll say, true about that whole plan is the parking. And that does make sense to utilize that, what Tim's talking about. We're gonna have to have a culvert put in, and at least gravel it right here. That is next step as far as something actionable we're gonna have to do as far as this committee. Now, is that something like, do we have to use the funds for this? I don't know, from the house? Is that something we can use from, the county, the highway department, like what's all the materials, like, get them to do? But I think that's worth pushing up to the office for June, and to do, and to highlight, for June.
I was gonna say, maybe between, I'm gonna throw you on the bus here, drag you with me. Maybe between us, we could talk to Toby and or Rogers Group and see what is available for donation or interest in doing the work regardless of donation or pay, to do that break-in and culvert work. Because this is for a good cause. It's a county project, and it's also, a historic project that we're trying to shine the light on. Maybe we can come with some options or suggestions if we talk to.
Yeah. They should have done it before they poured the curb and gutter for Wolf.
We know there was no plan there.
No, the house was not thought about with that sidewalk.
House was not thought.
Yes.
They dug.
They should have, they could have left it, but that's not one part.
Could have, should have.
I think Steve could maybe answer. I have a hunch that in order to get any of this done, we're gonna have to talk to Scott Langford, and he's gonna direct us to Don Long.
I don't know.
If the school owns the road, they've not gone for final approval, it's not been adopted by the county. So it's a private road at this point, it's owned by the school system. So, have you got any idea where we need to?
Be clear with that language though. The property is owned by the county and the school.
Yes.
The responsibility of the road is owned by the school right now. But I'm sure that they'd be open to whoever doing the work is gonna cost some money to cut that in. Just
school's already spending money on that property anyway. They planted 1,000 trees there 30 months ago.
And they needed this county's permission to
They
do it.
didn't ask anybody's permission, they're just doing work, so maybe
I
that's
asked,
something they'd be interested in doing.
I asked Dr. Langford about that the other night, and he said, and the mayor had said that once before, that it was a TDAC thing, and.
You said it was a requirement.
Yeah, it was a requirement.
Show me writing where those are.
Well, I'm just repeating here, so, and I asked him about it too, and he was telling me they had actually planted 2,600 trees or bushes or whatever those are, and it was required by TDAC because there's a salamander that lives somewhere down in that area. It's kind of almost like a wetlands right through there, it's sloppy.
What's the point though? They're protecting it
Yeah, that's,
after all the construction was
I
done?
know, I mean, I would say I went there and said, dead.
I want to see that in writing.
Yeah, that's what I said.
A lot of things in the county that are just lied in my face.
But you're gonna have to be careful when you're talking about a cut in there, because part of that, you walked it. It cuts in down there almost to that culvert, and then there's an electrical box right up there, and then it starts, those trees start again on the other side,
So I
so.
think the point though is finding what's original, and that should all be grandfathered in right there. What they've created was Mount Salamander habitat. They may have destroyed some salamander habitat, but they didn't create anything.
Well, they poisoned everything above the elementary school again. They did it last year. When they first cleared the land and did it all, they came in and did what they usually do with the machines and blowed out the straw and the seed and all that. But the ground was hard packed. There was nothing gonna grow, and nothing did grow except weeds. They came in last year and bush hogged late in the summer, and then they poisoned it. I mean, there was nothing alive up there on that hill, all the way up. They didn't get down next to the playground.
Physically sprayed it,
Yeah, sprayed it.
saw them spray it.
So there's probably no salamanders left.
That was my point. It's probably, everything's probably died down through there by now. But anyway, they sprayed everything. Nothing grew for the rest of the season. It started back this spring.
Probably aren't allowed.
And, just in the past month, has anything started to turn green, and they have sprayed it again. So, everything that was up there, it all came back weeds anyway, there was no grass, they didn't come in, but that's what you do, you go in and spray it, kill everything, then reseed it. Well, they didn't reseed anything, or at least nothing I can tell, and y'all can drive by it, you can tell where it's dead, where it's not. Because there's places there were a couple of wet places they left alone, and up next to the tree line they left alone, and fescue is this tall. If they'd just seeded it and done it properly the first time, there'd be the prettiest field of fescue there that you could ever see. Because Cindy and I drove down beside the school, we went down to see what they were building down there at the corner of the playground, and we drove down to it, and she's been sneezing ever since. I mean, the fescue is higher than my gator, and you just see flying back in her face. So it would be really pretty if they'd actually grown anything. But right now everything's dead. And you can see that driveway that we talking about, where the old driveway is. You can see it just clear, because the grass has not grown back like the regular, everything else around it.
Is that actually Mr. Brown's driveway?
Yep, that's Mr. Brown's driveway.
But it needs to come off right there.
Yeah, that's in the curve.
You should come right back in there.
Yep, and right about where that, just to the left of to that culvert, you can see the drive just went right up to the house.
So, I mean, I'll ask right now, if anybody knows anybody with any kind of, groundwork services, but I've seen that gravel driveway refreshing where they underdig it and turn the stone back up and get the weeds out. You may know anybody with anything like that wants to, quote that or donate some time, it'd be great to find that driveway. But if you would help me, we could reach out to St. Rogers Group and, Toby to see what it would cost and get some estimates on if they're interested in doing the culvert or, the break-in of the curb. And then if Stephen could ask, does he need to ask about the process for doing that, or?
We need to find out whose permission we need to do.
For
For
breaking
When
the curb.
is it transferred,
No timeline.
when is it transferring over to, in terms of, responsibility?
There's no timeline.
I'm surprised. I do recall there being, some conversation, I can go back and look at some of my notes, but I remember there was, with the traffic situation out there, emails going back and forth, and I think going back to you when Dr. Phillips was director of schools, I think I recall him discussing that eventually that would become a county road, and it would become a county road. I feel like he gave a timeline, so I'll go back and
I'm surprised they haven't already.
Okay.
You may ask, when is it on the books to become one?
Okay.
So we find that it's going to be, or whatever, we can just redirect to the house.
It's usually the last thing you do when you have a project like that.
It's used as a cut through quite often.
Oh, it's tremendous cut through.
Well, the main thing is that, getting that, whatever, some type of drive that you can get, haul a dumpster back there, you know, and drop it off to kids. So, that definitely, I think, that's something that we can work towards now. As far as like, there's nothing, you know, now that's just gonna be a matter of, you know.
So we'll try to get those answers by.
The original driveway, is it, if you got in there and just cleared,
No.
it's still not.
It cuts across now and,
Okay.
It won't be the same driveway.
I got you.
It would come straight out.
Is it curvy? Was it curvy before?
Yes.
Yeah, it's made up. Like they were
Turn back in and loop back.
See the house right here? That's the driveway over here and cut this way. We're gonna make a driveway that comes straight out. That's the only way we're gonna get it.
And part of it's still there, you can use part of it until it starts to make the curve, because it is just kind of angled up all the way to the corner.
Then that would be a point of talking to Director Langford about, because now we're carving a path, the driveway.
The road.
The driveway.
I know, but you're talking about the road, the county doesn't, it's not a county road yet. You're going to, remember, the property is county in school.
I know, so it's gonna be some discussion on the path of the driveway, since we're not following the original.
Well, up to a point, but I don't think we can, literally, because of the way they constructed the school, it's impossible.
I understand that, but there's gotta be a choice made on where it does go.
Well, I don't think there is.
You want it to go straight.
That's not what I want, I think it's only option. I think that's one option.
Okay, well, that option's still gotta be decided on.
I mean, that option's in this drawing. I mean, I'm going by the drawing. That's
So you wanna put it where it shows it there?
Yeah, that's the only place you could put it. Then you have one option, and that's that.
Yeah, I think with the wetlands on both
That's
sides.
the only option.
Stephen have what to do,
I don't know.
because we're asking about the possibilities of getting it put in, where we're gonna put it, that's the next point that needs to be decided. It needs to be researched, somebody needs to be talked to, or
Well, there must have been some research done by whatever that.
I'm not agreeing
do
to it.
it.
I'm just, there's nothing to, no more to talk about what we're talking about doing with the house. The driveway, pretend the driveway is the house. We're having the same discussion. It's just a discussion. But the problem is the road. Forget the lane. Think about the asphalt.
I'm saying we get that covered, and they're ready to cut it in.
Well, I think we put it back where, it needs to go where this, I think this drawing is. That's the only thing that I saw good from that drawing.
I would like that, I mean,
That's the only thing that makes sense. I mean, that's the only thing that I saw that was, I agree with from that drawing.
Is it something that has to go to get decided upon by the group outside of
The same question you're asking is for the whole process. I think you're trying to make that into something that's not.
I'm trying to pre-prep work that we can come back with answers for either next Thursday or by general operations. I want some answers on these two things: culvert, curb cut, where it's going. I want
The
those.
highway cameras, I want you to find out.
We're doing that part, but as far as where it goes, that's why I thought there may even be a discussion with the school, because it's somewhere on that 88 acres of property. So, does anybody else have a follow-on?
You're just saying that the way that it's all laid out, there's only.
I want you to look at this.
I think that's right.
It's there.
I don't see, I agree with Jeremy, the way that you have it set up right now, I don't think there's any other place you can put it.
It's just that.
Okay, so we come up with the way to do it, we bring it to Gen Ops, they vote on it, commission votes on it, we just do it.
I don't know that one, so I'm just saying that is the only question, that's the issue with question of the path.
I think
The old original driveway.
let me get some glasses up here, so
There are no other options.
the old original driveway, so right here is where Hunter's Lane is.
Okay,
Real sharp curves.
yeah.
But the old driveway was
You
just
actually have
the
to
same spot,
leave down
and it just kind of angles down like that right there.
Whatever,
Right up to that house.
Or initial civil engineer.
Yeah, but where it's got, where it's got, what you're talking about right now, see, there's a
They probably
right
done
here.
engineering
And
to.
also it can't be there, there's an electrical box right there.
And bounds.
All that,
It's
those
probably
bushes
there.
that they planted, everything, do that, and then they do this, so you pretty well.
It's just gotta be right here
Yeah,
somewhere. I want
right
to
in there.
nail it down.
You know, we used
As
to,
soon as possible.
you know, we used to do.
I mean, what you're talking about, you need to install further over that point. I'm not,
That's what I'm saying, go ahead and ask the question now, get that year
I
started.
don't think there's any questions to ask. I think it's something that we do.
Okay.
That's what I think. Because
So basically, it's just, okay,
We need to put that
we need to
driveway.
put that driveway in, and that, you can't put it over here, you can't put it over here, it's gotta be.
no, where the original driveway was, that you put there, the problem is there's like a box culvert here with electrical work.
Right.
Where the driveway was.
Right, yeah.
Can't do that anymore. Like, it went, this driveway actually went like at a 45-degree angle, cut across the entire property and came out to that where that road is. And so that doesn't exist anymore. You can't physically do that. You have to come straight out in an opposite direction, which is the shortest path. It's actually the best case scenario, coming right out there. But that's the opposite. I mean, but that's the only thing that makes sense, as far as like this little property, and using the.
What's the shortest distance least cost?
Yeah.
Correct. But we just need to be able, we gotta cut through the concrete, there's a curve there, you gotta have a culvert, and put that in there with the tile, for drainage, be able to access and cross over that. I mean, that's the work that needs to be done.
So,
On this road.
so highway can.
Correct. This is a highway question.
Okay.
I mean, this is all highway. Because that would be work we want to engage Toby with, because that's what Toby does. The highway, this is a highway department project.
So, do we need to make a motion to get that, explore that?
We can, but all we do, we're not in executive session yet, so.
Okay.
When we get back to session, we can. So, yes, I think that's the next step that we can have so much fun in the next couple of months, or getting back to the full position.
So, one question I have is if the road is still under the school's responsibility, is that going to hinder, for example, is that going to hinder cutting into that and putting in a drive?
Well, it depends on who wants to hinder it. It'd be a political decision to hinder it, not a physical.
That's why I want that known today, as soon as possible.
Why don't you say what you want to say then?
If it becomes a political issue, we need to know sooner rather than later. I don't want to wait until we get the whole plan, everything pretty, and then go ask, and it's been a month or two, and then we find out.
You don't have to go ask. That's the whole point.
That's kind of what I'm
I mean, you are so hyper-focused on permission. We don't need
They've
permission.
made it clear from the beginning that we will have to work together on this whole thing to get any of it done. There will be
But that's part
allowances,
of the house.
denied or accepted.
Jim, we don't need the permission of anybody to do this as a Kitchen County project, it's a county property, it's a county house, and money was left to the county for it.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, is the county
You don't have
house,
permission.
you gotta have
Access.
you gotta have access. I mean,
Well, what I always did when we had construction sites, before we were ready to cut in a swale for driveways, we threw down a 6-inch piece of PVC, got 20 bags of temporary asphalt and just threw it over it.
Yeah.
That's an easy temporary fix. And
This will be more like a
we don't,
24, 36 inch.
no, I'm talking about where the curb is. Just to jump the
Oh,
curb,
gotcha.
just to jump the curb. Yeah, as far as the,
Yeah, but you get up on the ground, then you still got.
This is a long-term solution, it's part of the
Yeah.
house, it's a permanent solution.
Yeah.
Period. Whether, it's not short-term, it's long-term, but.
Right, you get over the curb.
Which something you can do in the short term, touch the house, but regardless, it's gotta be done,
yeah,
period. There's just there's no discussion.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah. Well, Toby's probably got corrugated metal pipe.
I guess I just want, Director Langford on record supporting this. I found this early.
He's been on record not supporting the entire project, Jim, so, I mean, I don't.
Well, and it's like you say, it's a public park.
Yeah.
That means the county controls it, I think.
It's on school property.
No.
Well, I mean, it's on school property with.
Jointly owned by the county.
Yes.
Right, so I mean, it's a property and, you know, it's gotta have access. I mean, so, under whose jurisdiction would that fall? I mean, I would think that it's, I mean, I don't know, I would think it's county.
So it's the county, so the mayor or the county commission?
Well, if there's a property that doesn't have access and it needs access, what's the protocol?
County commission controls county property statutorily.
Starts at Gen Ops.
So I
I would think.
you know, bring that to the floor, and, we need to cut in, we need to drive, to have access.
Yeah.
So I don't see what the schools would, I don't know what they would do why they would stop that, or how they could. I mean,
Because they can, not how they can.
yeah, but it's county-owned property, and there are laws that there are laws that say you gotta have access, you know.
It's not a county road. It'd be like,
Public county park. They cross the road, both sides.
I mean, you're cutting into something that we don't have.
It's gonna be a county road.
Gonna be, we could probably cut it when it is, but it's not yet. And that's
Unless we have permission. So, maybe, and that's why I raised the 6-inch PVC with, you know.
That gets us on the land, we still got to traverse the.
Yeah, I know, but that's county property at that point. Once we're past the curb, there's a right of way, then, and so if that low spot that needs a culvert is on county property, then we just say, let's do it. Let's put in a pipe. And we can put in a temporary pipe, or we can put in a permanent pipe. I like the permanent pipe, so if it's an 18-inch, you know, RCP, great, let's do an 18-inch RCP. Shouldn't be that big a deal.
What do they require over there? Is there flooding issues right there in that area?
They've just cut a swale, and you gotta get across it, and it's, when it gets muddy.
The wetland is really about that.
Yeah, so, you know, we need to have good access. We need a culvert, a pipe culvert to get the water from this side to the way it's flowing, and then we need a gravel driveway. And we could do it with the alignment on that plan. I just have to look at the plan, see if there's, maybe I can get it from Josh Sutter. Maybe he's got the drawings that tells us what size pipe goes in there. And then we can just push the issue and get Toby out there. Dr. Langford has no say. I don't believe.
We don't know. So, but I mean, it just comes down to this project needs to be done, so if people are posturing about it and making an issue, that'll be exposed.
Yeah.
Just gonna look back.
Yeah.
Versus just do the right thing, you just need access.
That's why I bring it up, I want to know earlier rather than later.
So I will go to work to
But
find out what size.
You have zero interest in your questions, you know that, right? I mean, I can't answer any of your questions.
I'm not asking for answers, I'm asking if he has work to do on the school board again, because we're leaving here with homework. I've given myself some there, I've asked him there to tell him, and he's the one member of the school board we have here that can do something.
What did
If
your
we
question
decide to
do?
do something,
So ask him a question.
I'm asking the body.
We need to
if he
decide.
needs to do.
We're
Well,
reading
I have the homework, I'm gonna look into it.
Okay,
Yeah.
good enough.
Absolutely.
That's good.
So, I mean, that's a valid question, and I wanna know, I mean, it was part of discussions in the past, and I even spoke to Dr. Phillips at the time about that roadway, and I remember him telling me, you know, yeah, it's gonna transfer to the county and all that, and so I just have to go back and look at my notes, and then of course I will, I'll find out some things for you.
not do anything would not be efficient for our meeting structure and trying to get things answered by the next generosity.
Okay. So, any more on this, David, you think, or good to go?
I think we're good to go. I think we need to talk about if we want to do a tour next Thursday, or if we want to put it off.
I'll bring us back in the session, we'll bring us back in the session. I'm gonna make a motion, that we send the highway, to, explore, the plans from here, what it takes to get a gravel cut through on that, on the road.
Second.
The Rockland,
Second from Commissioner Miller.
so send it to the highway to explore what it takes to put in I call it the box culvert, they call it tiles, put in the tile, put in the road, the access gravel, so we can get just like you do a construction site. Just be, doesn't have to be paved, just gravel inset, cut through. And I think if you're probably good, you're gonna do all the drainage work, I guess, put the tile in there and, get over that hump, and what would it take just to complete, just a gravel drive, or just, straight up to connect the old driveway to the house, access the property, so that's my motion to send the highway. Chrissy seconded it, Tim.
I don't think a motion is necessary. If I want it on the agenda, I'll put it on the agenda. But my fear is,
Tell us how you do it.
my fear is that it comes up on the agenda and half the room is gonna say, we don't own that road, this is none of our roads. Nobody's going, and Toby will probably back up, I think I'd be better off just talking in the sidebar.
Okay.
And seeing if it's something.
That's why I motion to send it to the
So
would you rather not do anything?
well, if I could find out from his sidebar outside of committee, he'll let me know whether it's properly put on committee or not. He may say, that's a good thing, because it's coming up next week for adopting it anyway, and that'd be great if he said that. But if he says, I'm not gonna talk about that, we don't even own that road, then we're stuck, with an item on the agenda that we can't even discuss, because it's not ours. So that's why I mentioned for the homework to do that. I would hope that, it's gonna be adopted soon, so we can ask that question, but I just don't know what's right for highway committee.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Stephen King is going to do the homework, find out what we can do with that road and what we can't, and I'm sure he knows Don Long and Scott Langford. He has access to them, so he can get a feel for what's going on. I will get together with engineering. I will find out where the property line for the street ends and the park begins. I will find out what size that culvert needs to be, if it's been designed yet. I don't know that it has. And then we can run the footage and figure out how much gravel. It's not a big deal.
Well, sounds like we don't need a motion.
One thing that I think, one question I have is the legal issue of what we're talking about is who has jurisdiction over this road, and yet there's a county property, there's this house here, and what the legal question is, can we, so can we cut in there, since the county owns the property, and then the school has some responsibility over it, what is the legal ramifications, or what, and would there be an issue with that, and so that's the question I would have. I would love to ask. We could get
Eric,
if the county attorney, the school board attorney, what is, I think those are.
Here's the reality.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just spell it out in sentence once again. If you want to make this political, then we're never going to get anything done. We might as well just shut it down and go home. Right. That's what we're getting at, is the what ifs, politicization of this, which has been highly debatable. You have a $1.2 million park plan from 5 years ago at that price, that was misappropriated, misallocated funds diverted away from his house. Director Latimer has made it very public in his public attacks on me and others, and he's very upset about that. So if you're looking for cooperation, you're not going to get it, Tim. If you want to fight, you're going to get it.
I have my hand up.
I had mine up a long time ago, I just waited until you stopped talking, so go ahead.
Nope. Well, I'm not gonna say it.
That's why I would rather him go on record saying he supports or does not support. We can get around the legal part, if he supports it, says, yeah, go ahead and go in there and cut it. It's not a legal question, because he's already said that. But if he wants to go out there and lay down in front of a bulldozer, because it's, you know, school-owned road, but they may have some ground there. I'd rather just get out in the open early, get him on record. If he supports it, if he not. If it's gonna be political, we'll know at the get-go of this. I don't wanna wait until we have everything lined up, ready to go, and then it's stopped. I think it's our best bet.
Yep.
Part of knowing that is know where the property line is. That's what I'm gonna find out from engineering. We can jump a curb. They can't stop us. I mean, I suppose they could try to get the sheriff out there and stop us from jumping a curb, but I don't know if it would. You know, you're already on the property by the time they, you know, the cop can't get there fast enough. So, you know, let's find out. And I think, Mr. Chairman, if you would do some research with our attorney, this is kind of like being half pregnant, this whole school-county relationship. Seems to me we're the umbrella that they're under. We provide their money. Seems like we're the boss. And so at some point, there's got to be one boss, not two. And it would seem like the county would have authority over the school. Just seems to me that way. But that's a question for the attorney.
This highlights the folly of joint properties of any entity of government.
Yeah, but the school is us.
Correct.
It's Sumner County School District.
But there are also laws in the state that delineate schools' authority versus the county's authority. And that, I don't think what you're saying is 100% accurate and true. Because the problem is it's joint property. It's not school property. It's not county property. It's joint property. So, and that's just a fact. And that's the quandary. And so, and we're trying to, the money was left to the county, not the school. Everybody's very clear about that. We need very proud of it.
Do you have it?
Yeah, but, you know, you know, to me, I just think this is it's my opinion, it's a county issue, but I mean, the schools say it's a school issue, but they can't prove that any more than I think the county can. But I mean, we know that the money was left to the county for this, not the schools. Therefore, I think that's a precedent. Our goal is to fix this house up. And, you know, whatever, if the school wants to come in and spend their money, the county commission wants to give them to make this grandiose $2 million project, that's definitely within the commissions and the school board's purview to do at a later date, whatever. Our job is solely focused on this house. That's it. Just this house. And in order to do that, the quandary, we have to have an access point. We can just continue, like I said, it's the same bag, just drive on up in there, and, you know, make it just whatever. But eventually, and we don't need to solve this problem now. We don't need to think about it as far as, you're going to have a box culvert and a parking area for people to go to get to it. It's got to happen. And we don't have to solve that problem right now. Okay, we just don't. We do whatever we need to as a minimum contractor to get a truck over there. It's not going to sink in the mud. What is that? What is that? A minimal viable product.
That was where I was going. Just that. Work back. Construction back.
Yeah, well, might as well.
Yeah, I think over time we're gonna get more. It's gonna, some of these answers are gonna come. I'm gonna do some research. You know, so
I wouldn't have done that where you're saying is that at all this whole discussion.
you gotta cut it. You gotta lay gravel. That was mine.
But I'm not talking about cutting it. What I just said, I didn't say cut it.
Yeah.
I didn't just.
Yeah,
We're not about getting access for starting to construct somewhere.
We
I know
know
about the permission to cut it.
Correct. I don't know.
Maybe.
But like I said,
But
we
what I
don't
just
have to cut
said,
it
I
out.
don't think we need permission. Is what David. I just restating what he said. So,
Anyway, well, it doesn't sound like there's any action it takes. I'll withdraw my motion at this point, so, and that effectively kills it. I think what we can do, you guys want to do a meeting? I mean, do you guys want to come to it next Thursday and have Chris walk it out there with us, and so we can walk through this in person? We just basically be, I'll ask you, I mean, I don't know, if we would, it wouldn't be an official meeting if we did that, it's just, we're just touring. Okay. We would not take action, have discussion.
I think it'd be helpful for this committee and any of the citizens.
It would be no different than what Genox did when we visited the jail,
Right.
in the courthouse.
Right.
I think this would just be a tour, it would not be.
Informational.
Information, it would not be a voting, discussing, you know, we're deliberating, knocking out walls thing, taking votes, we have to come back here and do that.
We're gonna argue about a driveway?
Huh?
We're gonna argue about a driveway?
We're probably.
Well, you can see, if you're out there, you can see exactly where the old, oh, you
Do it during the
can see where
day,
the
I can make it. It's the evening that I'm not conflict.
Well, I can't do it every day. That'd be like
Well,
5:30.
5 or 5:30, there's plenty of sun.
Takes a picture.
So he's just talking about he can't do it at night. He can't do it. He can't do it in the evening.
Oh,
He's
okay.
busy.
With
So he's
that,
gone. He's gone? Gone. No, this would just be the committee.
well, we can wait till a later date for the tour. I'd like everybody to see it. I think it's worth.
Well, I think we see it, I mean, I don't need to see it necessarily based on what the pictures are and what the description is, to make a decision. But if we want to continue discussion with action, it'd be better to have a meeting here with Chris coming in.
Okay. Well, let's do that then. Let's do that then.
I mean, like informally, if anybody wanted to go out there, we could just go out there.
Yeah. And I can take anybody out there.
Just curious, what, that house sat empty for how many years?
8 years. 2017.
And when y'all went in there the first time, that's the first time anyone had gone in there in 8 years?
Well, we don't know.
Legally.
It was open. It was open?
Man kicked in the back door and knocked out some windows.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
That door is kicked in right now.
Yeah.
Well, they went in when they were looking for bachelor.
Yeah. It's really a miracle that it's still there. The things that happen to houses, old houses that are uninhabited and everything, it's a miracle something hasn't happened.
But half the windows were broken.
Yeah.
Underneath access is open, some animals and stuff, but animals saw. Mainly what you saw when there was
All right, so you guys are okay with doing the meeting next Thursday? We know that Stephen won't be here, and Chrissy probably won't be here either.
Yeah, Chris
So,
will be here.
and we can have Chris here.
Same time.
Yeah, unless, because that gets us before Genox. Oh, do we even need to? I don't know, because if there's not gonna be action taken in Genox, the highway, do we,
Was there questions that we didn't ask Chris?
I don't know, do you have questions to ask Chris?
One question I had, you may have gotten an answer for already, was there's cost on there, I think, for roof, metal roof.
Yes.
Does the roof need to be replaced?
No, it's not leaking.
So we take that off. Was there a more era-specific metal roof that could be put on there that is existing, or?
No. I mean, he is,
That's $18,000.
yeah, he's saying you could tear it off for 9, I think, or 8. 8. He's got a tear off price, he's got a redo price. But it's not leaking, so there's no point necessarily to.
8 and 18.
8 and 18.
So that could possibly give you the $26,000.
Yeah, but like I said, nothing appears to be leaking now, so there's no reason to replace
I
it.
don't know if where the brick tied in, if there's gonna be problems with damage and stuff like that. If they could walk under.
I can see where the first level hits into the second level wall. There might be some repair to do once the brick is removed, because there's brick there. But that's not replacing a whole roof, it's just repairing that. So
We just need an actionable item for it.
Do we?
To keep it all going. Don't we need to send something to the commission to get something started with direction of spending money on this house.
I think we're right for that in June, for June.
That's what I'm saying, can we come up with something to send? Every meeting's gonna count from here on out.
You know what?
Even if it's just the driveway.
We need to have the meeting next Thursday, because we need to make decisions with Chris on next steps.
Okay, all right.
At least the driveway.
Because if we're gonna start tearing brick off and doing things inside, then we need to get an allocation of money through budget. I assume it's gotta go through legislative as well, or does it? No. Budget and then to the commission. So if we need to say, okay, we need to allocate $20,000 or whatever the brick removal is, and the remaining surfaces inside, at least, you know, if we just wanna look at section A right now, the log area, then we need to at least do that much.
Don't you have to have three bids?
Yeah, anything over,
But we can do
It's
it,
$10,000.
yeah.
we can do it up to though, and that's.
Anything, from 10,000 to 20, it's 24.99, you have to have the, estimates, three bids, I get the file.
3 bids.
Yeah, that was my understanding.
25,000, I think it's the estimates, not three bids. Bids come in over $25,000.
There's 16,000 for this brick veneer and all signage.
Everything with the 25 is we gotta bid it out, anything 24.99 to 10,000, we have to get the estimates on it. And anything up to $10,000 is just, we just do the work.
Right.
As needed. However, you know, the commission approves. So, all right, so we're gonna meet here at 9:30 next Thursday with Chris. Chris can't come, I'm canceling the meeting.
Yeah.
Just,
Well, he, like I said, he texted me, he said he's available next Thursday.
I'll have a night. I mean, you understand.
I do.
If he cancels again, I'm just,
I do.
if something comes up family-wise or what, I don't know, just, I know this is unexpected tonight, it came up.
Yeah.
But I'm just making, just, if it's, we can't come, we won't have to be.
Understood.
Do we want another tentative date if you can't do? Or just play it back?
Well, we're just gonna,
We've already set the third Thursday every month.
No, the next Thursday you can't do. Just want to play that by ear, like I can do Friday too.
well, we gotta notify, so there's gotta be, 5 days, 3 days for Ad-Hoc. I will verify with him. I'll verify with him right now.
All right, any other questions or?
I might be able to join in by phone.
Okay.
That meeting, 'cause I'll be driving, but,
Okay, yeah, we could put you on speakerphone.
Okay.
So you can listen in.
yeah.
It'll be fine.
Are there any trees around the house that are endangering the house? I know that one fell down. I knew that.
Them all out.
There's a couple that are close enough that if they went over, they could cut it.
But they're healthy, right?
But
Yeah, they're healthy.
Yeah.
Everything I've seen down there, there's limbs falling out all the time. I wouldn't want to go down there and mow without walking across it. And the fescue on this backside from the patio all the way over to that fence is chest high. I was gonna go down there and mow, but my mower died in that. Now this part back over here on the front side, it can still be mowed, but back on the other side, it's gonna take a bush hog or something.
Also, the schools in for, county.
You want me to?
But if you wanted to mow, I'd be happy to have you do it, because it's hard to walk.
I know it is. We walked around the other day. Do you want me to ask the mayor? I'll be happy to. I invited him here tonight and asked him. TSU's historical society. He was supposed to have met with them out there. I'm pretty sure that's what he said. He met with them.
He did.
And,
I'd like to know what they found out.
yeah, that was why I asked him to come, because I figured he could enlighten us on that.
I don't think you like getting an inspection, and it was just, they were talking about their grant process.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, it wasn't because there is that house, it was out there.
It's
Administrative
the
process.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay.
Yeah, so all the paperwork.
Okay. The way I understood it, he met with them, they were gonna give some guidance. And so that's why I invited him to come.
The grant.
He didn't mention that. you like me to reach out to them, see if we can get some of that crew out over there to see if they can bush hog it down?
Yeah, he's probably gonna say it's the schools.
Well, I can call Mr. Langford too, that doesn't mean he'll listen to me, but I can certainly talk to him, I don't mind, if that's all right with everybody else, me too.
Great.